Record to cloud. Perfect. All right, so we want to start things out by asking you guys a question. It would be super helpful for our wonderful speakers if they had a sense of where you're at with your CSEP. So let us know in the chat box now, are you signed up to take it next month? Are you just thinking about getting your certification, or do you already have your CSEP? I'll give you about 20 seconds to let us know in the chat box. Okay, perfect. So it sounds like most of you are in the boat of considering your CSEP, you want more information. We do see Sarah already has hers, so maybe some information on reinstatement would be helpful as well. So we'll make sure we cover all of that today. At this time, I do want to introduce our two speakers. First, we have Ruth Wickoff-Jones, CSEP, who is on the ILEA headquarters CSEP committee, and we have Susan Diamond, CSEP, who is our CSEP ambassador specifically for the ILEA-MSP chapter. So she will be a great resource to connect with even after this presentation. I am going to let our wonderful speakers take it away from here.
Thank you very much. And we are having some audio challenges, so I need to head on over to, okay, is that better?
That's better.
All right.
Ruth, if you need to pop out for a second and come back in.
Yep, we'll see how this goes, and I might do that. So thank you for getting us started, and thank you for all of you that are on. I know we've got a couple people that are on the fence, and you're really who we're going to hopefully help out today. We'll get some other questions about recertification and reinstatement. Those are two separate issues. Those taken care of hopefully later at the end of this. So if you'd like to advance the slide here for us. So what is the CSEP? CSEP is an industry designation that is really about showing your ability or your understanding of the necessary components to participate in planning and executing live events. And obviously we've got a quote here that goes into that a little bit. But I'm actually going to have Latea start the next slide in a video because I think hearing about it from our current CSEPs in the industry is really a great way of understanding the variety of ways that we come to this. I personally came to it as a learning opportunity. It was something that I wanted to just know that I really felt like I understood all the components of an event really well in order to plan it. But if you'll start that video, and Latea, I'm going to pop out and come back in and see if that works.
The Certified Special Event Designation, CSEP, is a benchmark for the live events industry. It is the designation that proves a common understanding of key competencies. Commitment to education and of the violence industry.
I was sitting there in the audience and I saw all these names up on the screen. And there were a lot of people who I really liked and admired and respected who were out their field. And I thought, wow, they all have this thing after their name, these four letters, CSCP. But I thought, I want to get that. I just want those letters after my name. And that was the original catalyst that I worked in my research, and I found out, yeah, I want to earn this. I want it
Technical difficulties. The live events industry is all about it.
like a college degree or something. I want to earn this designation.
It's a strong, intelligent, and professional group.
You know what, Latea, how about, and you're muted, my dear.
All right, so we might come back and play the video at the end, or I'll send in an email tomorrow. Computer audio is on, but unfortunately it's just not playing for us. So Ruth, I'm gonna go ahead to the next slide and have us keep going here.
Perfect.
That will
Do things in the system.
and I remember.
Come on, little video. All right.
And hopefully I have my audio fixed as well. All right, so the new testing model, what ILEA did is, our previous exam, it had been about 10 years since it had been rewritten, revamped, refreshed, and it was time for that. So at the same time, what we looked at was trying to find a more simplified way of taking the exam, and then also with a long-term goal of all of the exam candidates being able to take this exam from anywhere in the world, because we work anywhere in the world. We looked for a system that would allow for remote proctoring, that has a little more simplified process of grading. One of the things that you'll see for current CSEPs, there will not be grading of the exams as part of your recertification any longer. There will be other opportunities to earn points, but that piece of it has been eliminated, and it will actually be done within the system. In the way that we're going about doing this, it also allows us to continually gather the data about the responses to the questions, and then we can continue to evolve those questions as necessary in a more dynamic manner for the exam. And then there's also going to be psychometric analysis going on along with that. So again, just looking at keeping the content fresh and current. And I think if there's anything that's happened this year, has told us that live events now is probably going to be including virtual events. So if there aren't questions on the exam right now, I would fully expect in the future there would be some that would be relating to how you produce a virtual event or a hybrid event. And all of these changes ultimately are bringing this particular exam to a worldwide audience, which is we're really excited about. So if you would go forward to the next slide.
Hi, so I'm Susan Diamond, CSEP. Ruth and I actually sat for the exam the same year, which was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I did it, it was sort of ironic when there was the recession, so there was time on my hands to do it, but it was something that I had wanted to do for a long time. So the ideal candidate, I'm not going to read verbatim these slides, but with a vested interest in maintaining the core set of competencies. It's someone who's established themselves in a career and invested the time and energy and resources to gain a comprehensive understanding of all event elements. So with that, a broad breadth of knowledge and understanding of those elements, demonstrating that you can apply critical thinking to all facets of an event, regardless of the role that you play. So it's not, I think there's a misconception that it's limited to planners or event producers, and it's not. Your ability to assemble a team and manage a team, ability to facilitate conversations, demonstrating your event management skills and your understanding of risk management best practices, and then upholding ILEA's standards of conduct and ethics, which is really critical, not just for yourself, but for your teams and your clients, and just demonstrating that in the overall industry. And this last bullet is sort of a repeat of the one above, but a sound understanding at a management level of the full event process. So you're not required to be a subject matter expert in all areas, but you need to understand the process and know the right questions to ask and the team members to engage to create a successful event. Again, like Ruth said, whether it's live or virtual or hybrid, which we're all sort of learning on the fly these days. So yeah, if you're not a planner, you still will need to be able to speak to all of the elements within an event. And I think next slide.
So how do you get there? The eligibility pathways have changed as well. We have in the past only had one manner of getting to eligibility. We now have three. Again, looking at the breadth of the individuals who might be taking this exam, knowing that they're not all planners or producers, we reevaluated that pathway. And so there are three pathways. The more traditional that we had in the past is included. That's the minimum of 5 years of practical experience in the industry, full-time. Second pathway would be 3 years of full-time experience in the industry, and then that you would have a letter of recommendation from either a current CSEP, and they do need to be active, about your ability to your experience in the industry. And that might also include things like, you know, that you're involved in the association, that you're providing support to a local chapter, or you're involved in the industry in some significant way outside of your employment. Another third pathway is that 3 years of proven experience, and then either a certificate or a diploma program from a recognized hospitality events industry program. So what this does is it does open up the pathway to CSEP to more recent college graduates. So again, showing that continuing investment in the industry and keeping up with what is current beyond the original certificate. And as part of that process, you would need either a letter from the faculty or a official document from that certifying organization that you did complete the program. And we've got details on that on the website of what the specifics are for what documentation you need for each of these three elements. So the next slide. So how do you get there? First thing is, if you have not applied for the CSEP exam, you'll want to do that. They are asking if you had previously applied for the exam and been accepted, that you please reapply via the website. You won't have to pay the fee, but you will need to provide a copy of the documentation that you had been approved to take the previous exam. So hopefully that's fairly clear there. The next thing that you probably want to do is, again, to the ILEA-hub.com website, getting the blueprint. In the past, that may have been called the content outline. I think at one point in time it was also called the blueprint prior to that. But that is your that's your guidebook for how to prepare for the exam. It's going to give you the information about the types of subject that you will be tested on. So it really walks you essentially through the planning of an event. So if you, again, have met the criteria for the pathways, and you look at the blueprint, it should, for the most part, be kind of an aha moment. If there's something in there that isn't, then that's something that you will want to definitely focus on in your study work. The CSEP task force for the redevelopment of the exam put together a recommended reading list, and this is a curated list, and it was handpicked actually from the reference documents and books and whatever other resources that were used to develop the exam. So there is actually quite an extensive list. I know this is something in the past that folks have been looking for, and we really just said, you know, anything related to how you put together an event would work. But the people that worked on the writing of the questions for the exam actually used a combination of many of the documents that are there. We're not saying that you have to use all of them. We're not saying that you need to buy any of them, but it's definitely worth a look. And one of the things that I will point out as an excellent one is the Apex Industry Standard Glossary. That will be a really helpful document. It's available online. I don't know if you're able to download it, but it would be a place to bookmark, if nothing else. And then another opportunity that we've opened up is the purchase of practice exams. So what's been done is the exams that were available previously have been made available now, that you could actually sit and take that exam to help you prepare for the types of questions that you might be asked. It's really important for me to point out that the format is not in the format that you would be taking it moving forward, but it does help if you take that along with the blueprint to help think about the types of questions that you might be asked. And when you do that, I believe our next slide here, Latea, is, I just want to, again, want to go over this real quickly. So the retired CSEP exams, you are purchasing an opportunity to take that exam for the $59.99 US. And you sit with the exam and take it. You can do that up to twice, and it will give you immediate results. I am still trying to find out how you see those results because I'm not entirely, still not entirely clear myself on whether it gives you a passing score or if it tells you specific items which you could have improved on. And as soon as I have that information, we'll be passing that along. And it does not equate to what the exam scores would be in the future one, but it's an opportunity. Again, if you haven't taken a test for a while, it might be worth it to do that at least once. All right, and then if you want to move on to the next slide. So again, that recommended reading list, I know I went over that a little earlier, but really do recommend that you take a look at that. And I know Latea is going to be providing the deck, so you'll have, following the presentation, so you'll have the list, the recommended reading list. We could move on to the next.
So as Ruth mentioned, this blueprint replaces, if any of you had started this process earlier, this replaces the content outline and is really the key to understanding the core competencies that are going to be addressed in the exam. They have settled on 120 multiple choice questions, and you have a maximum of 2.5 hours to take the exam. Do we get to the proctor part later? Yes, sitting for the exam. Okay, I won't go into that. But you can download that blueprint on the website. And the breakdown by domain, I'll just go over this quickly. So strategic outlook will address things like the scope of the event, strategic planning, data analysis, and other sort of pre-planning aspects and overall management. Project management is timeline scheduling, financial management, team structure and management, and then how you manage your stakeholders in the event. Risk management, which has always been a critical element, even more so today with the health situation. So that addresses health and safety, security, permitting, insurance, and other elements that need to be put in place in advance of the event, monitored during the event, and then reporting on post-event. Event management and design is really the bulk of the event. So that contains all the elements of actually executing the event. External communications relates to marketing of the event and communicating with team members, attendees, stakeholders, the general public, just depends on the scope of the event. And the professional conduct is upholding the code of ethics for yourself, your team, your client, and the industry in general. So these percentages that are listed here are not how they're weighted in the exam. They're the percentages of questions in the exam, excuse me, that will address each of those domains.
And Susan, I'm going to jump in here too. I also want to point out that while those are listed in a bulleted list, they may not appear in the exam in that bulleted list order.
Correct, right.
It's going to be random. So you need to be prepared for that. And I do understand that there are some scenarios that might have multiple choice questions that would follow them. That you would need to answer a series of questions about an event scenario. So in that case, you might see some of this in a similar order to what you're seeing here, but it is not guaranteed there.
But that's how the blueprint is broken down. So
Yeah.
the blueprint goes in that order, but she's correct that the exam will not, it'll jump around regarding competencies. Next slide.
Okay, so studying for the exam. There are a multitude of ways. And if we were not right at the exam window, I would be saying for sure, get yourself a study group. Susan mentioned she and I and Ryan Hansen had formed a study group, and we actually took our time over about a year to study. But I do know if you have not joined it already, there will be a resource later. There is a Facebook group for interested candidates. And I saw a post within the last couple of days that there is someone that's actually looking to start a study group. And it could be really informal, depending on what your time is. I think you could do it in the time that you have. Obviously, the attending of ILEA programming that is happening, and that would be both the local chapter programming that you have attended or will continue to attend, and then also attending programming with other chapters. We have a unique opportunity that most of the other chapters are also offering online programming, and registration is easier than ever if you're attending it virtually. And then also looking to your member benefits. If you're not a member, now is the time, because there is additional content there that's available for members. And then there's also content as part of the programming that's been going on over the summer, and much of that is free. So that's an added benefit right now. Obviously, purchasing the practice exams is a way to do that. There are, I believe we have about 10 CSEPs in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area and greater Minnesota that I'm confident would spend some time with you if you want to have a conversation about anything that you're not feeling comfortable with. I would also talk to your vendors and your partners if there's an area that's in that content outline that might be something that you're not familiar with. For instance, safety, lighting, AV, whatever that might be. Use the resources that you have through ILEA. And then I did mention earlier the Apex Glossary is a fantastic resource because that was used as part of the development of the exam, and it's really helping to level set the language that we use across the industry so that we're all speaking the same language. And next slide. So the CSEP exam application can be found online at ILEA Hub, and then if you just follow the CSEP links, the initial application fee, actually, and let me step back. So the applications are being reviewed individually by our headquarters staff. It takes about 10 to 15 days for that review to happen. They are trying to fast track as many as they can for this upcoming window of exam. And then again, as I mentioned, if you were previously approved, they do want you to resubmit. They're trying to get everything into the same electronic system so that as we move forward, all the records are in there. The application fee is $350. That's paid when you're submitting the CSEP exam application, and then the exam fee is $350 when you schedule your exam attempt. So that's after you've gotten approval to take the exam. Once you have done that, I'm going to assume that everybody on the call today would actually pass the exam. So you have an investment of $700 there. If for some reason you were not if given a passing grade in the exam, you do not need to repay the application fee. It would just be paying the retake fee of $350 for every attempt that you need after that. Okay. And my understanding is when you take the exam, you would not be told which areas you are lacking in. You would be given a pass-fail. Okay.
One thing I'll say about the application, they had said that you needed to apply by September 15th, and that deadline has been extended indefinitely.
Yeah. So one of the things, and I'm going to tag on to that, thank you, Susan, for pointing that out. There is an initial window of October 1st to October 31st. And obviously there was an email that went out yesterday, I believe, that I hope everyone got, that said that the application deadline, or the application soft deadline, was September 15th. Like I said, the intent is for us to get as many applicants taking that exam as we can. And then if you can get your application in, they will try to push you through October if at all possible. And then Latea, can we go on to the next slide? So again, I'm gonna just go over this so everybody is clear. So the first exam window is October 1 through 31. It is 100% virtual. So you literally can take it from anywhere you would feel comfortable taking it. A few things that you need to be prepared for. You have to have a computer that has a camera and a reliable internet connection. Okay, because there will be a live virtual proctor that will be watching while you're taking the exam. What you'll do is you'll log in. The proctor will get on there as well. You will need to show them the space in which you are sitting to take your exam with your computer camera. And then they will.
You can't have a virtual background like Ruth has.
Yeah, no. So thanks for pointing that out too. And then you'll take the exam. So the exam windows are scheduled. So one of the things to be aware of is that our intent is to get as many people as we can, but we will hit a point where we may run out of either proctor windows or just not enough time to get something scheduled. So you want to try to get in as quickly as you can if you're looking at doing this first window. Again, can't guarantee the farther we get into the end of September that everybody will be able to sit in October, but we're gonna push as many people in as we can. And then the next slide here. So before I go on to the resources, one of the other things just to make all of you aware of in the exam process is as you're sitting for the exam on this first window, if you are sitting for it, the time for a turn on the pass-fail may be a little bit longer than in the future. And the reason for that is this first group of candidates is actually going to be helping to set the passing score baseline. So again, the more people we have taking it, the more accurate that's going to be. There will be adjustments going forward. I don't expect a lot. So the hope is that you would be having a pass-fail within a week, if not less than that, which is significantly different than having the experience Susan and I had, where I think it was 8 to 12 weeks, and sometimes even took longer than that. So much more immediate, more immediate gratification. But just knowing that if you do sit in this first window, that's going to take a little bit longer. Once we feel like there is a good baseline and we've got the the exam is processing the way we want it to, the window will be 24/7, 365. As long as there's a proctor available and we can get them available and scheduled at a time that works for candidates, candidates will be able to take it pretty much whenever they want. So know that that is coming. And then again, that this first round might take a little bit longer to get the results back. But then we are hoping by the end of the year that that exam window will be open permanently year round, which is another big change from the way we used to do it, where you had certain windows of time and that was it. Again, taking out that piece of people, CSEPs having to grade it has been a huge improvement on that end. So as far as the resources, again, I'm going to refer you back to the CSEP page on the ILEA Hub website. There is, again, a CSEP interested candidate group on Facebook. It is a closed group, so you will need to request to join that. I think there's probably about 100 members. I think the last time I looked, it might be a little less than that. Susan has graciously offered to be our local chapter ambassador for the calendar year. I know Nicole is our Ohio ambassador as well, so thank you for doing that. And then our ILEA Regional Vice President, Barb Siska, is also someone that you can certainly reach out to as well. There is a presentation on the CSEP exam that is from a few weeks ago. We've made a few adjustments to this presentation, but there is some Q&A at the end that might be helpful as well if you don't feel like you're clear on anything, or Susan and I haven't answered questions here. Again, knowing that this content is the most recent, it was actually updated from that presentation, but again, another resource for you to just help to understand the process. And then of course, any questions that you have, we recommend that you reach out to headquarters and they will get to you as quickly as they can on that. Have we covered everything, Susan, that we talked about?
And then we're gonna go to the actual site so that Latea can guide people how to click through the CSEP.
And as we're doing that too, we'll, Latea, while you're doing that, I'm just going to touch briefly on recertification. So recertification is for anyone at that 5-year window. Nothing has changed there. Your recertification application is due by the end of November on the 5th year of your recertification. And for candidates, you should know that 5 years from the time you take the exam, you will need to recertify, and you probably want to also look at what the requirements are going forward, because it does require you to continue your industry involvement in a variety of different ways. And then if you're a CSEP that your certification has lapsed, we do currently have a reinstatement period that is available. And again, that application is on the website here. So one of the things I want to point out, Latea's got the homepage of the website up here, where it says resilience and recovery resources. If you are not familiar with that, that will take you to all of the live recordings that are available from ILEA International. There are a few from some of the local chapters as well, and I expect that content will probably be growing as well. I think previously that said COVID resources, and they've updated it because we're looking towards the future of recovery. And then Latea, if you would just go over
Can I jump in on one thing just for recertification to allay any concerns? You don't have to take the test again, FYI.
Correct. Unless you completely lapse and you can't make up the points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you
have done the exam,
good.
Yeah. Yeah. So Latea, would you go over to the CSEP? I want to just show folks a couple things here. So all of the information that you're going to need is on this page here. So the focus, if you don't have your exam, if you haven't taken the exam yet, would be under the Become a CSEP. And if we can do that. One of the things that is a little funny, a little weird on the navigation is if you go up to the Become a CSEP, you'll note there's those tabs there. They're a little difficult to get to, but if you just click on that and then scroll down, the same information is down below.
So this is where you would get the blueprint, the application, everything that we've been talking about, the reading list, the practice exam. So all the links are right there for
and Latea, scroll down. I think that video that we were experiencing challenges. Oh, no, that is the previous presentation that is there that was done by Jody Paulson, CSEP, who is the lead on the committee that I sit on. And then again, the additional details there. So that is all available. And then Latea, if we can go back up on that page, I just also want to show current CSEPs where the information that they will need for recertification and reinstatement are, and then address one other thing. So again, there's a CSEP directory of all of the CSEPs. I know that's something that chapters have looked for, and the CSEPs ourselves. We've always said, well, who are the other people? So there's a list there. The documents that you would need for recertification or reinstatement information are available. And Sarah, I think you are the one that is on that we have the recertification. The change there will be to that set of documents. There's going to be a few things, but one of the primary is in the sustainability. That is where the testing, the grading of the testing is removed from the sustainability, the sustainability section. And then industry contributions, there's industry conferences and education. There's been a few changes in the points and how those are allocated. Nothing significant. We're just giving a little more weight to ILEA programming in those particular documents. And then I don't know that there's anybody on the call that would fit in what we would have called the CSEP Emeritus program, but just know that that program is actually being reevaluated. The Emeritus would be someone who has a very long tenure in the industry and may either be at the point of retiring or retired, that they would be able to maintain that. And we are actually reevaluating that, so you're not going to find very much information there. And like I said, I don't know that there's anybody in our local chapter that would meet that qualification just yet, or has expressed interest, but just know that it is there. And if there are questions about that, you can reach out to me directly. So having said all of that, I think I have now covered everything that we needed to, right, Susan? We good? And then we can move on to Q&A.
Q&A? Yep.
So before we hop into Q&A, let's see if our video wants to play now. If not, we'll just go right into questions, but let's give it another try here.
The Certified Special Event Professional designation, the CSEP, is a benchmark for the live events industry. It is the designation that proves a common understanding of key competencies, a commitment to continuing education and advancement of the live events industry.
I was sitting there in the audience and I saw all these names up on the screen. And there were a lot of people who I really liked and admired and respected who were at the top of their field. And I thought, wow, they all have this thing after their name, these 4 letters, CSEP. But I thought, I want to get that. I just want those letters after my name. And that was the original catalyst. I did my homework, did my research, and I found out, yeah, I want to earn this. I want like a college degree or something. I want to earn this designation.
It's a strong, intelligent, and professional group that will do great things in this industry.
And I remember sitting at Busboys and Poets for dinner. My husband and I were at dinner, and he had got up to go take a phone call, and I got the email saying that I had passed, and I was like, I passed, in the middle of this restaurant. And then he came back. He's like, what is happening? I said, I passed. So, so that was really cool.
The CSEP is an inner circle in the events industry, and not just in the US, but globally. So these are people who know all elements of producing an impeccable event experience. And so certainly know that these are the people that are the cream of the crop, and I want to be part of it.
Every time I go to an event, I'm there from the beginning to the end, often setting up early and tearing down late. I get to see the AV being set up. I get to see the caterer setting up. I get to see the planner working behind the scenes, the floors coming and setting up, and then everything, all the steps along the way and how an event flows. I really get how it all fits together and what my piece is.
It is so important to me to work with CSEPs whenever possible. If you are a CSEP, you speak the same language, you have a same understanding of the key competencies of live event production.
It's this unspoken cue. It's this signifier that, okay, this guy's legitimate. He's got a great knowledge base, and so that in and of itself opens doors to opportunities, with colleagues to partner up and things like that. They just see that, and it's like, okay, we get it, we know.
I love the CSEP community, especially through ILEA. Everybody is so wonderful, so supportive, and really celebrates the successes that everybody has in their careers and life.
I believe in credibility, and when I switched into the world of events and saw that there was a designation, I did everything I could to get those letters after my name. So as soon as I was eligible to sit for the exam, I did it.
For someone considering applying for the CSEP exam, I would recommend soak it all up. Learn. Attend to conferences, go to meetings where there's educational components, pick brains of vendors that you're friends with and maybe stronger in an area that you're not an expert in.
If you're thinking about getting your CSEP, here's my best advice. Just do it. And you will really grow your industry and your career in such ways that you don't even know at this point. Talk to others who have gotten their designation, and you'll know that you can do this. So I believe in you.
Yay, we got through
Thanks,
the
Latea. I love I have to say, I love hearing those voices. Those are all people that I today consider very good friends and the most amazing professional resources. And I would not have met many of them had I not gone for my CSEP, and I just know that I can call on them and they will be there if I have a question. So with that, do we have questions, Latea?
Yes, we have a couple questions that popped up in the chat box. After I get through these two, please feel free to unmute yourself and just ask as they come to mind. So first up we have, do you know how long you have to take the exam once you pay the application fee?
The time window that you have is a year from the time that you pay the fee to taking the exam. And quite frankly, if you are putting that kind of money down, I would be focusing on getting it done otherwise you're just drawing out a process that I don't think is worth it for you in the end. I know I mentioned that Susan and Ryan and I had done the study group together for over a year. Keep in mind, we paid $50 for the exam or the application fee at that time. So it was a little bit different situation. I really, all of the people in the video said, if you're going to do it, just sit for it and don't let the year go by.
Awesome. Second question we have is, what do you think was the most valuable studying piece? Perhaps the Apex glossary?
I don't know. Susan, what did you find the most helpful?
The study group. We had people, I mean, there were other people in it as well who ended up not sitting, but we had a larger group that started, and it was just helpful to get perspectives, which I think is the essence of the whole designation, is understanding the roles of every person on the team, not just your role, and thinking about things from all those points of view. And I know it comes up often that as a planner, I hear from vendors, I have heard over the years from vendors, that it's discouraging to get invited into the process later than sooner. And that may be something that some people don't think about. But having them be involved in decision-making and getting the knowledge of what their roles entail so that you can give adequate time for everybody to do their best work and not get called in at the last minute. So we had a florist, we had production people, and as we went through our content outline, now the blueprint, it was just fascinating to get perspectives of those people, which then led to greater learning. And I feel like, I know it made me a better event partner, which then, you produce a better product for your client.
Yeah, we actually took that, the content outline or the blueprint at the time, and each of us went through it at the beginning and marked the things that we didn't feel confident in. Mm-hmm. And then as we had our conversations, and Susan's right, it really was conversations. One member of the group or another almost always had an example or an event scenario that they had worked through that helped the other person in the group that didn't have that knowledge base understand what it took to get that piece done. So that was very, very helpful. Like I said, the Apex glossary for me was a big deal, just because I wanted to make sure if I was understanding how something was referred to, again, it's that consistency across the industry. And that's one of the things that I think overall the industry has gotten better at because of certifications like this, is to be able to speak that common language. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, this is about knowing that you know all the components that need to be included in an event or that need to be considered, and then having that common language across everything. And to Susan's point, understanding what goes into producing an event, no matter what your role is. Again, if you understand how you fit into that overall plan, that's really what CSEP is trying to elevate, is that idea that you understand where you fit in the overall event plan. No matter.
I would add, we had talked about this, we didn't add it to the bullets, but early on in the PowerPoint, it referenced that this is an experience-based exam. So not to become focused on memorization of all of these industry resources. And one thing I think in preparing, and if it's a little late now if you are going to sit in October, but volunteering with the chapter, volunteering at events, participating in events, and just gathering as much practical knowledge of the event production process and all the elements that are involved is really great. I mean, I know for a fact, I'm working at Fireworks in 2008, there was a question on the exam that I would not have known the answer to had I not been a part of that Star Awards planning team. So yeah, I would just say volunteer and get involved as much as possible. The knowledge you can gain from our industry professionals is as valuable as anything, I think.
Alrighty, we do have a couple other questions in the chat box. Is the CSEP certification something that is widely recognized, or is it mostly other event planners that know about it?
I think that's it's a tough question to answer. I think within our industry, yes, it is recognized. It might not be as recognized as the CMP. I know I still get questions about what is that? What is that designation? What does that mean? I think for me, the CSEP really was also about being able to demonstrate that I really do understand the full breadth of things. CMP definitely does look at that as well, but I think this certification is really just a good one if you're looking at being in the industry. And the more CSEPs that we have, the more widely recognized it will be. So you're also helping with that.
Hey, Ruth, can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, certainly, Nicole.
Awesome. I can tell you that having my CSEP was a job requirement in order to have my job, and I'm a corporate planner in Columbus. And I can also say you, in corporate worlds, you will see in most of the job description, CMP, CSEP preferred. So you will see that on a lot of the corporate applications out there, not just the CMP. I have both, but I do think that when an event person, whether it's a hotelier, a partner, a designer, sees that I have that, they're like, ooh, wow, you have your CSEP. It's a lot more, I think, industry related, like respect. But I do know most corporate jobs will put in their things. We prefer to have someone with a CMP over a CSEP or CSEP. My particular title is CSEP only. My boss felt there was a more academic and a more well-roundedness to experience by achieving a CSEP over a CMP, and that's why she prefers to have that. So just for whoever's question that is, I can at least tell you from a corporate planner standpoint, that's what I see in regards to a CSEP.
That's great, Nicole.
It's mentioned in the video too that I think credibility is what it demonstrates. Even if somebody doesn't know what it is and then they ask, educating them on that is really helpful. I will say, people always say, well, what am I going to get out of it? What am I, I think the confidence of your expanded knowledge is one thing. Being a better team member is one thing. But I truly got a call from a gal in Missouri who was having twins and needed to retire and wanted to hand off a legacy event that she had done. And she specifically was only going to refer her client to another CSEP. That it just was a no-brainer. And so I ended up being able to do a very large event in San Diego, specifically because I had CSEP after my name. And they liked me, they hired me.
I was going to ask you to share that story, Susan, because I remember when you got that call and how that really was something that was really important to have behind your name. And I think, again, the longer that we go and the more CSEPs that we have, again, the more credibility that we gain with the certification. I will say that when I took the exam, it was one of the most difficult exams I've taken, but I really felt like the relationship of questions with a scenario and then answering questions about it really tests. It's not just, it wasn't just a multiple choice. It was that I had to really be able to think critically about that event scenario, and that really reinforced for me that I had that additional knowledge. The other thing that I will say from my side is I actually had a couple jobs over the past 15 years that I helped the hiring managers write CSEP into the requirements. So again, it's one of those where when you have the designation and you have the support of your leadership in your organization, and then to be able to say, if you want someone that is going to have the same caliber of knowledge and expertise as that I have to join the team, this is what you want. This is the kind of person that you want to have.
Right. Do we have any last burning questions we want to ask Ruth and Susan? Feel free to put in the chat box or just unmute yourself now. All righty. Well, I do absolutely want to thank both Ruth and Susan for the awesome information today. I hope those of you that attended felt this was informative and you feel inspired to go on and get your CSEP. We will be sending all of those resources that were in today's presentation, as well as the link in tomorrow's email. So thank you so much for attending. The last thing I want you to keep on your mind is our next ILEA program is going to be Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. And this is going to be our first hybrid program. So you'll have the opportunity to attend in person or virtually, and it will be a great opportunity to see a hybrid program in action. So we hope to see you there, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.